Welcome back to another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Mira.
And I'm Jack. Man, I am so stoked for today's topic.
Me too, Jack. But, looking at the comments lately, it seems like our listeners are actually terrified of us.
Wait, what? Terrified of us? I mean, I think I'm a pretty nice guy.
Oh, not of us personally. They're terrified of the language we're speaking. Specifically, the fear of making a mistake while speaking English in public.
Okay, yeah, that hits home. Honestly, Mira, even I get that brain freeze sometimes when I'm trying to explain something complex. It's like my vocabulary just disappears.
Exactly. It's that perfectionism trap. We feel like if we aren't 100% accurate, we're failing. But here's the thing, Jack. Perfection is the enemy of progress.
I hear you, but let me push back a little. Don't we need to be perfect? I mean, if I say sheep, but it sounds like, well, something else, people are going to judge me, right? They'll think I'm not smart.
Well, that's a common misconception. In reality, most native speakers are just trying to understand the message. Think about it. If someone comes up to you with a heavy accent and says, "Where? Bus? Station?" Do you think they're unintelligent?
No, of course not. I just point them to the bus station.
Precisely. Communication is about the bridge, not the architecture of the bridge. But we get so caught up in the grammar police in our own heads.
Oh man, my internal grammar police is like the FBI, always watching. But seriously, Mira, how do you actually stop that feeling? You know, that cold sweat when it's your turn to speak in a meeting or at a party.
It starts with exposure therapy. You have to be okay with being cringe for a while. Most people wait until they're ready to speak, but you only get ready by speaking.
So, you're saying we should just lean into the embarrassment? That sounds painful.
It's uncomfortable, yes. But let me ask you this, Jack. When you were learning to drive, did you expect to park perfectly on the first try?
Heck no! I nearly hit a mailbox. Twice!
And yet, you kept driving. Why? Because you knew the goal was to get from point A to point B. English is the same. It's just a vehicle.
Okay, I get the metaphor. But meetings aren't mailboxes. If I mess up a presentation, I feel like I've lost my professional edge.
I understand that pressure. But let's look at the psychology. There's something called the spotlight effect. We think everyone is staring at our mistakes, but in reality, they're usually just thinking about their own next sentence.
Wait, really? So they aren't counting my misplaced prepositions?
Trust me, Jack. They're wondering if they left the oven on at home, or if their own hair looks okay. You are the only one obsessed with your errors.
That actually makes me feel a bit better. But what about those moments where you just forget a word? Like a basic word. It's so awkward.
Use your circumlocution skills. If you forget the word colleague, just say, "the person I work with." If you forget refrigerator, say, "the cold box for food." Native speakers do this all the time when they're tired.
The cold box for food. I love that. It makes me sound like a caveman, but hey, at least they know I want a snack.
Exactly. It shows you're resourceful. And honestly, Jack, that's what makes a fluent speaker. Not knowing every word, but knowing how to survive when you don't know a word.
You know, I actually had a super embarrassing moment like that last week. I was at this coffee shop and I wanted to ask for cinnamon, but for the life of me, my brain just deleted the word.
Oh no. What did you do?
I just stood there, pointing at the brown powder, making a weird face. The barista looked at me like I was malfunctioning.
And did you die?
Almost. But eventually she said, cinnamon? And I said, yes, that thing. We both laughed. It wasn't the end of the world.
See? That's a micro win. You communicated. You survived. And now you'll never forget the word cinnamon again.
True. It's burned into my memory now. But Mira, I think for a lot of people, it's not just about the words, it's the accent. People feel like their accent is a warning sign that they don't belong.
This is a big one. But let's flip the script. An accent is just proof that you speak at least 2 languages. It's a sign of intelligence, not a lack of it.
I never thought about it that way. Like a badge of honor?
Precisely. In the US especially, accents are everywhere. If your grammar is 80% there and your accent is clear enough to understand, you are already more fluent than most people who are too scared to open their mouths.
Well, okay, I'm starting to see the light here. But we need to give our listeners some real actionable steps, not just feel-good advice, you know?
Agreed. Let's talk about the 5-minute mirror rule.
Okay, the 5-minute mirror rule. I'm listening, but let me guess. I have to stand in front of my bathroom mirror and give a TED talk to myself?
Well, basically, yes. But it doesn't have to be a TED talk. It can just be you talking about your breakfast.
Oh man, that sounds so cringe. If my roommate catches me doing that, I'm moving out.
I know it feels weird at first, but think about it from a biological perspective. Speaking a language isn't just a mental exercise. It's a physical one. Your mouth, tongue, and vocal cords need muscle memory to form new sounds.
So it's like going to the gym, but for my face?
Exactly. When you practice in the mirror, there is 0 pressure. No one is judging you. You are training your muscles to get used to the shapes of English words without the anxiety of a real conversation.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because sometimes I know the word in my head, but when it comes out of my mouth, it just feels clunky, like my tongue gets tied into a knot.
That is exactly why the mirror rule works. It bridges the gap between your brain and your mouth. And here's another trick to add to that. Record yourself.
Oh, heck no. I hate the sound of my own voice. It sounds so weird on tape.
Everyone hates their own voice, Jack. But recording yourself speaking English for just 1 minute a day and then listening back is the fastest way to catch your own mistakes before anyone else does. You become your own teacher.
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's true. It's like watching game tape in sports. You review the footage to see what you did wrong so you can do it better next time.
Spot on. And speaking of doing it better, we need to talk about how we celebrate our progress. Most learners only focus on what they did wrong. They never celebrate what they did right.
Oh, yeah. Like when I successfully ordered that coffee with cinnamon. Even though it was messy, I got the coffee.
Yes, that is a huge win. You communicated successfully in a high-stress situation. That deserves a mental high five. If you only punish yourself for your errors, your brain starts to associate speaking English with pain and shame.
And nobody wants to do something that brings them pain. That's why people just give up and stop speaking altogether.
Exactly. You have to reward yourself. Survived a phone call in English? Buy yourself a treat. Sent an email without using Google Translate? Take a 5-minute break. Positive reinforcement rewires your brain to enjoy the process.
I love that. So let me recap this for our listeners, and for myself, honestly. Number 1, stop trying to be perfect, because even native speakers use the cold box for food sometimes.
Yes, communication over perfection.
Number 2, use the 5-minute mirror rule to build muscle memory without the pressure. And number 3, celebrate the small wins, even the messy ones.
You got it. And remember, everyone, every single mistake you make is just a stepping stone to fluency. The only real mistake is letting fear keep your mouth shut.
Man, that is powerful. I feel like I need to go talk to a stranger right now. But before I do that, if you guys found this episode helpful, hit that subscribe button.
And we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us, what is your biggest fear when speaking English? Or share your funniest language mistake. We'd love to read them.
Yes, please share. I promise I won't judge your grammar police. Until next time, guys, keep practicing, stay confident, and don't be afraid to sound a little silly.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast and Chill. See you next time.